Welcome all of you to this important meeting about the international cooperation on hydrogen energy. I have learned that this is an event which is to prepare for a big one next year here in Brazil, is it?
That's correct.
Good. So CNPq is proud to host this, and it's a pleasure for us to have you here today.
I want to explain how we are doing this meeting. The idea is to drive the cooperation between some friends from, for example, from Canada, from USA, from China, from Taiwan, from other countries. The idea is to narrow our relation. The international cooperation with Brazil is very important for us, because nowadays it's impossible to develop all the technology and to solve all the problems alone.
Although I've been just a few months at the ministry, I know that the Ministry of Science and Technology has been involved with this for over a decade. It started in 2002 when we entered the IPHE. And the ministry has been involved in several initiatives with the hydrogen economy, let's say. And there has been lots of events that the ministry, together with the Ministry of Mining and Energy and COPE, from the Federal University of Rio, involved in several initiatives, especially promoting events and meetings as we are going to have next year.
Our conversations and the role that fuel cells and hydrogen play in the economies are driven around these basic four themes. And depending on your country, the weight varies. And so energy security, security of supply, and the ability to switch is obviously one that resonates with a number of countries. Energy efficiency, and we talked about this previously on renewable energy and how do you most effectively use your renewable energy in the energy systems, and how can hydrogen help in that respect. And also getting to distribution methods, distributed power generation, what's the role there for hydrogen and fuel cells. Other countries look at hydrogen as a economic opportunity, supply chain development, jobs, those kinds of things. And in fact, in some cases, it's how do we get the return on the investment in innovation. So there's an economic driver there. And then finally, I think for many countries, a key driver is environmental performance.
Well, this presentation, in fact, is more focused or from a bilateral perspective, European Union, Brazil. For the EU, there are different energy and climate targets. These targets, which were for the year 2020, have been now revised, and presently the idea is to have 14% of decrease from the greenhouse gases emissions from the year 1990, to have use in the energy production of 27% of renewable sources, energy sources, and also to have savings, energy efficiency 27%. In any case, for the next decades, naturally there is expected a huge increase of photovoltaic and wind energy. So it means that the system should have a higher demand of flexibility and system innovation. And this is where hydrogen and fuel cells will play a key role. So we have, for this joint undertaking on fuel and fuel cells and hydrogen, we have more than 100 members in the industry, more than 60 members in the research area. By the way, from the industry, Also, half of them small and medium enterprises, which is also very important to involve in the industrial process the small companies. Naturally, for us, the European Commission, we have this joint undertaking, the second phase of the fuel cells and hydrogen activities. They, as mentioned before, they are launching annual calls. The next call will be launched in January of next year. So it means that, and as mentioned, calls with two L's, naturally, the calls are open to all international partners. The message here is the next call of 2018 is open for Brazilian entities, not only Brazilian, for all international entities.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, the Ministry of Science and Technology for the invitation, as well as the CNPq and the COPE to be here and have the opportunity to talk a little bit about Air Liquide Group and our developments on hydrogen business. Air Liquide is expert on production of small molecules. Small molecules mean small really, not because the size, but the number of atoms that are linked to that. And this is basically coming from the air. So we can see in the left the three main air components that we produce, we remove from air, and we also produce other kind of molecules from natural resource. So as hydrogen, helium, and then CO2, and acetylene, silane, and many others. So and the reason that we're here is that hydrogen is one of them and one of the important molecules that we produce around the world. The most amount of hydrogen nowadays is going to the fuel industry. So if we fill your tank of your car with gasoline, is because this gasoline has been desulfurized with hydrogen. Another thing is that has already been mentioned by Tim is the steel industry, for example. The steel industry is using a lot of hydrogen, not only because it improves quality of the product, but also improves efficiency of the process. So in a steel industry, in a steel mill, for example, you can reduce annealing time from 20 hours to 5 hours in a process. Other thing that you probably already know that is almost impossible to make nowadays flat glass without hydrogen. And finally, one thing that almost everybody has every morning in the table, so you have margarine here as an example, but any kind of fat probably has hydrogen on it. I can assure you that most of fat that you see in your fries or in your morning margarine is using hydrogen on that. So hydrogen has been a while for a long time already, and industry is doing that. Sometimes the margarine is just not so far from our house, so hydrogen is being delivered there safely.
And I will talk about Electrocell. It's a young company, 17 years old, and we work with fuel cell batteries and bipolar batteries. Another product that we developed with COPE was the 80 kilowatt fuel cell for the hybrid bus. And then in all this development, we was very proud to be mentioned on the Fuel Cell Today 2 times, 2006 and 2008, for one of the best fuel cell company of the world.
It's a pleasure for us to present a little bit our development, our company. Since the beginning, our history have been working with innovation, commercial solution, and involving hydrogen, energy, and gas. We can produce hydrogen between 1 to 20 kilogram per hour, and the high purity up to 6.0, 6.9 of purity, 10 bar of pressure, and we can work with steam reform, partial oxidation, and ethanol reform. We work with water electrolyzing, alkalines, and PEM technologies.
Like the other 2 presentations, I'm working in a tech company. It is a small tech company. We have already quite an investment. For a small company like us, we are well equipped, and I have to thank this to one of our sponsors, mostly Furnish. They help us a lot to be able to have the equipments that we need to develop the technologies. Those developments in power electronics drove us to lots of other applications, industrial applications. This one I brought here because of the hydrogen team. This is a reactor, a plasma reactor that we developed for create a layer in metal parts that use hydrogen. Hydrogen can embritten the metal, and if hydrogen do so, the metal is more fragile.
Caio Mojica has already spoken a little bit about the Hydrogen Council. This is something very important because in January this year, these very big companies, they got together to really do something to put hydrogen energy into the world. You see, they are speaking about investing something like 2 billion euros in the next 5 years. And this is only money from these own companies. That is, it's not governmental money put into it. So it's something really, really important. Data was taken from 1992 up to now. And we see how these different factors, such as increase of temperature, decrease of available water, which is essential for our life, the increasing population that is very big, not only human population, but also ruminants that we produce in quantities nowadays. So this is a big impact that we see, and it's hard to understand how there is still people today that think that we are not harming the planet.